but I reflect on hate law. So I need to make sure that I always conduct myself accordingly, wherever I go, not even as a councilman in hate law, because people know I'm from here. The minutes, yes, I will be prepared. I think that I've served on the Alcohol Review Board, I've served on the Design Review Committee, and I know they're not 500 pages, but I've always been prepared. Being prepared and knowing code and stuff is my job at work. I always have to find new code and things, and I read a lot of documents for work, and I will, if I have to spend a weekend to read a document, then that's fine. That's what I'm committed to, because I'm committed to hate law. Now, will I attend council meetings? Will I be there? The council meetings are set up. You know when they are. I believe that there's no reason, barring an emergency, a family emergency, which I understand, or sickness, there's no reason to miss them for vacation. To plan vacation, if you're a council member and you've been elected to represent the citizens of Hapeville, the least you can do is respect them and show up for the council meetings that you said you would. I actually believe that as Mark said, it's a paid position for everybody but me, because I've said that I will not receive a paycheck should I get elected. But I believe that we should change the charter, and where if you don't show up for a council meeting, you're paid for that month. Should be, if it's 2 meetings that month, then you should be paid that month. If it's 1, then you should be prorated because you didn't show up. And I will be, I have been present for Hapeville. I've been in the community. This week I haven't had one day in this week that I haven't been in something for Hapeville. And honestly, for the past 5 to 7 years, I have had very few times in my week that I haven't been here for Hapeville. And it may not be something that was seen, but almost every day I do something for a citizen in Hapeville, Georgia. And I believe that that is in the fabric of me. And whether or not I win this election, I'll continue to do that.
Okay, thank you all for that question and those answers. Yes.
Yeah, my question is going to start with, and it'll be about Steve Fincher. Because you just said something that wasn't hearsay what you said. I was there. I was on the Alcohol Review Board. We were called by Fincher's office to go into executive session during the day, during the week. No, this meeting was never advertised. And Fincher told us that this was because of legal. Legal. You can go to executive session for legal, personnel, and real estate. This was legal. There was nothing legal was going on. I believed Fincher because he was a city attorney. I don't believe him now. There are other things that have happened. We lost our water sewer authority through Fincher and his stuff. There is no longer a citizen board. So when you ask about water bills, this is up to the city now. There is no citizen water board. So they can use this as a tax. In fact, Mr. Whitson said in the retreat that it was a cash cow. There are other things. Fincher doesn't even know the charter. He sat in a meeting of the Water Sewer Authority in October of 2016, and Ruth Barr and Alan Hallman were in that meeting on the roll. That is a violation of the charter. You can only have one member of the governing authority on the Water Sewer Authority. So Fincher doesn't even know our charter. So here's my question. Here's the question. I had to give the background. Here's the question. On June the 6th, and I'm mentioning you, Josh, because the others aren't here. On June the 6th, you were supposed to have an RF to start interviewing other attorneys. That was a vote. I think it is violation of the oath of office that never occurred, particularly for these attorneys who have spent our money, who have taken advantage of us, and have not told the truth. So I'm asking, starting with you, Rod, what do you think about the fact that the City Council has not followed up and gotten that RF to start interviewing other attorneys?
I agree with you 100%, and that's why we need public bidding. That's why we need to put things out for review for an RFP, so we can have the lowest bidder. And I agree with you on what's going on with Steve Fincher and everything that he's done, with this city, keeping us in the dark a little bit. But I agree with you 100%.
Okay, so I guess I'm next. I mean, my attitude about this issue is that we just need to get all of this in our rearview mirror. And the way that we do that is we get a rational Department of Law in our city. And the way we do that is we set a salary for a city attorney. And I would say somewhere between $80,000 and $100,000 would be a good amount. And we gauge an RFP to young people who are not associated with firms and who would be willing to come and be our city attorney, people from good schools, people who graduated well from their schools, and would be willing to come here to give neutral legal advice and also oversee any litigation we undertake. In other words, if we need to litigate something as a city, whether it's on the defense or on the offense, that city attorney doesn't need to be doing the work. They need to be overseeing the work. It's not them. It's that other firm that we hire, and they say, yeah, this looks like they're doing a good job, or this doesn't. And if we need to switch horses, then that's great. And maybe we could set up something. What I would also do is possibly you could set up something with compensation where you would incentivize lower legal bills, i.e., you get a salary, and then we have another $100,000 in legal budget, and if you don't spend it, you get half of it. Congratulations. Please, $150,000 sounds like a lot less than approximately $875,000. And all the rest of that money can be used to put in a mini precinct on the north side of town, hire additional police officers to patrol over there. Obviously, we have a problem there, and that money can be spent for things that we all need. So, thank you.
Okay, next.
I think an RFP should be issued. It's fairly simple to look at other municipalities, see their language that they've used in a request for proposal, and essentially utilize sort of a common denominator between many municipalities, pull some language, put an RFP out. I do think we should bring that person as a naturalized individual into the fold of the city. And when I say that, it should be a person, it shouldn't be an LLC that represents the city as a legal firm. It should be an individual that's declared in our charter. In terms of bringing the legal team internal, I believe you have a budget for a younger lawyer is probably anywhere from $125,000 to $150,000. If you pair that with a paralegal, making anywhere from $85,000 to $100,000, the budget for such a department, if you will, would be around $250,000. If something comes up complicated that needs to be bid out because they don't have the expertise based off of their training, then you would bid that out as a separate RFP. Like Mr. Mack said, it has to be done in public. So.
But the question was, why, what would you do? The RF was never done. That was never done. They did not, the council just overlooked the vote that he took.
Okay, well, the person that promised that, Mr. Whitson's no longer here, so, I mean, I think you gotta move forward. I can't speak to...
I know that, but I mean, council people made a vote, even though Whitson left. This was June the 6th. This was supposed to be done June the 6th.
Sure.
This is now October, past the 6th. This is 4 months.
I mean, as a council member, I think that if you are interested in that as an issue, and this applies to any issue, if there's a change in staff, again, like what I was saying, other municipalities have done RFPs, RFQs, language should be available that you can at least propose to your other members as an agenda item and say, does this look good? They have the due right and due process to say, no, it doesn't look good, let's wait until we have another city manager, so.
And besides, it's gonna
Okay,
take 3
let's
votes.
let's move this along. We're spending a little bit too much time on one end of the table. We're trying not to time your responses, but let's see if we can keep it no more than 2 minutes.
Sure.
Yeah, mine will be quick. I would just say just in terms of the budget, and even if you compare, I think people brought up cities that are much larger than ours. If you kind of reduce the population to create a proportional relationship between the number of citizens and compares what we're spending per resident, we're spending too much on legal. And so I feel like the council has the ability to hire an individual. Travis is right, according to the charter, we shouldn't be represented by a firm. And just as a matter of cutting costs, it makes sense to be represented by an individual instead of by a firm.
So this puts me sort of in a hard spot, because people asking the question actually sue the city regarding the water sewer fund. So there's some litigation stuff that I can't talk about. But I'm the one that requested the RFP for Fincher. But as we all know, William Woodson was let go. And I knew that this was coming. And you can't cut the complete head off of your organization. So the organization is a living, breathing organism. It is moving forward ever steadily. You know, their city is moving forward. And with William gone, and if we were to have Steve gone, that's the head of the organization. That's the people that know everything about this organization. And you just can't do that right now. And Brendan, don't laugh right now. Come on, man. I didn't laugh during yours.
Gentlemen, let's
So-
keep it civil.
So you know, we can't cut the head off this organization right now. And you just can't. So it's taking your best interest in mind, the city's best interest in mind, to make this city whole and to keep moving. And I agree, we should go out for an RFP, but is right now the best time to do it? I don't think so.
Next.
For me, if we said to the citizens that June 6th, we should have an RFP for an attorney, I think that we should have held fast to that. If we could not uphold that, we should come back and humbly apologize and inform the citizens as to why we couldn't do that. It doesn't necessarily necessitate that we need to get rid of the attorney at that point in time, but at least put the information out there to let the citizens know that we're in the process of looking for a more appropriate or better fit of an attorney for our organization. Like Travis and Chloe stated earlier, the charter doesn't say that we have to have this massive law group. We can do an in-house attorney, hire paralegals to help staff that compensate them, just like how we did an RFP with Vote Right to transition them out and let them and stay on board for a little while to bring them up to par. We could look at the same type of model with that perhaps explored from a legal perspective and bring them up to par as well.
Hey.
Okay.
All right, so, according to information that was provided in the last budget presentation by William, a large percentage of what we spent on our legal last year was spent collecting taxes and stuff like that were not, that actually Travis, I'll give you the props, you found a lot of low-hanging fruit. And so I think if we had some sort of in-house small legal team, that we could save a lot of money by doing a lot of those high-cost items that all the return tax dollars to our citizens, we spend a large amount to go get that money. And to answer your question about the RFP, George, I agree with Mark here. If we told the citizens that we would have one, and it says it on, and it does, then we should have it. And I understand, Josh, I understand your point of view, but we should also come back and, as Mark said, I agree a lot with Mark here about we should have came back and at least explained to the citizens, this is why we don't believe that this is the time to do it. But yes, the charter definitely says that we should have an RFP every year for one, and I believe we should, as well as not just legal, but all of our vendors actually, to be truthful.
All right, thank you. Question?
Yes, before I get to my question, this is a statement to everyone. As a citizen, it's a little worrisome to me to hear that the head of our city and the organization is a city attorney in his firm who have a history of maybe not making choices that are in our...
Can you speak louder? I don't...
Yeah, that are in our best, for the best for the citizens of Hayville. So as a citizen, I would strongly urge both you on the council now and anybody who gets on there to maybe readjust that thinking if that's a prevalent mindset in the city right now, because that's a little bit worrisome. My question is, as a relatively new citizen to Hayville, been here a year and a half, I've wanted to be involved in the politics and be in the know of what's going on, but I've found it difficult. So I've heard several people mention transparency. Some people have said specific things about systems to get documents out, either through a specific program or posting them on social media. But I'd like to hear specific examples of ways that you, if you're elected to city council, would A, make the political process for the citizens more transparent so we can get information, and also more open to listening to our opinions. Just one specific example that sort of spurs this comment was I went to a meeting recently where legal documents are being reviewed, and there was a case where the board didn't get them far enough in advance to read them. And it became very clear because they said as much as half the board hadn't read them. The opposing legal team was asking for a vote that night, and luckily enough citizens stood up and said, it doesn't sound like we're prepared. What's the harm in reading this and putting these documents on the website and allowing the public to view it? Not because we're against it, but because this should be open. Luckily that board listened and pushed the vote back to what amounted to another week to the regularly scheduled meeting. But that meeting got canceled and moved ahead, moved 2 days in advance. So those of us who looked at those documents and wanted to attend and weigh in and hear what happened, they moved their regularly scheduled meeting. Technically put a notice on the door and did what they had to legally, but ethically it seemed a little weird. So it seemed to cut us out of the process.
What's the question?
The question is specifically things you would do in terms of transparency in government decisions, and then disseminating information to the citizens and allowing them to be involved in the political process and decision-making in the city.
I guess I'll start since Brian got the last one. First, welcome to Hapeville. Glad to have you.
Thank you.
Sounds like you were at a development party.
Yes, sir.
So those are broad questions, so give me just a second. So first, you wanted to know about government transparency. First, I would, and I think I can save a lot of time for all of these guys. I think we're all in agreement that we want to do some sort of live stream of our city council meetings. We just actually had a camera installed in the city council chambers, so I think it would be relatively inexpensive and easy to do some sort of live streaming with an online storage facility of some sort that wouldn't cost us a lot of money, so that people could understand that 6 o'clock on Tuesday afternoon is a hard time for a lot of our citizens to get there. We would have to, there's some things with some of the ADA compliance that we'd have to work through to get that to happen, but I support that. And I understand your frustration about the meeting and the timing, because I myself have experience trying to go to a meeting before and have it changed and things like that. I'm not exactly sure, to be honest with you, how we could change that immediately, but I think I would like to see us work to an area where we try to at least instruct staff that should we have to have, unless it's a called-in meeting for an emergency, which that had some time constraints to that deal that was being worked at the Development Authority, but I don't think it was so much so that we couldn't at least inform the citizens better. And I want to create a more comprehensive website for our city that will allow people, and Travis mentioned earlier that board docs is something that the city's looking into, and I don't know if you were at the council meeting the other night or I've got a chance to look at that presentation, but that's although not a perfect document management system for us, it is at least more, it's a heck of a lot better than what we have right now, and I would like to move towards something like that and maybe even something better than that. And also, one thing for me is I want to be heavily, I've always been involved in the community, but I am committing that to be accessible to the citizens if I was elected. I'm going to attend, every month I will attend a meeting of the neighborhood associations on a rotating schedule. I can't attend every neighborhood association, but I would rotate through every neighborhood association on a monthly schedule. And I'm going to hold regular office hours that will be posted every month of what, it can't be the same time every month because of different schedules, but I will post on as much social media and as much information as I can get out to the community when I'll be available at a location in town for so many hours a day, on that day, for citizens to come to me with any issue that they have. Not only that, I will have my personal cell phone number and my email address available for everyone to get a hold of me. Does that answer your questions?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Dr. Adams, before you. May I take a point of privilege? I promised Ms. Schofield if she came, we would get to her around 7 o'clock. So
Okay.
you fine?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
Transparency. Transparency is a hot button, but it's very meaningful to people. So I think that we truly should embrace it as a government in order to ensure that all citizens are informed every step of the way. I think that I was there at the Development Authority meeting that you speak of, and to have that schedule whereby everyone agreed to be able to meet and then have it changed is inappropriate. I think that should have been piped out via social media, next door, Facebook, however, to at least versus just posting a sign on the door and saying that we met the obligation. I do think that was ineffective. And by that way, you did not hear the actual voice of all the citizens to voice their concerns from that perspective. Also, on my push card, I did talk about how I would advocate for each council member to have posted office hours. I think that it's necessary to do that because not everyone is available to come to council meetings, or citizens' concerns do not stop at 3 or 4 or 5 o'clock. Not even during the week, but sometimes on Saturday. Provide your personal cell phone numbers. Mine is 404-234-4797. You have a question for me? I really think that we need to adhere to that, and if that'll propel us forward as far as having a transparent government. The Sunrise Review have already put out 10 elements in order for us to be most transparent in our approach. It would consist of from contract reviews, audits, meeting minutes, live streaming of meetings, and those types of things. So the work has been done. We just need to onboard it for us to make it fit to what we have. The framework is there. So we just need to tailor it to make it what's best for Hateville.
So I guess I would like to bring up some of the stuff that we have in this budget right now. We have, we budgeted for open.gov. I don't know if you've ever looked at that site. But you'll be able to see all of our financials whenever we cut a check. It's actually a really interesting, great website. It's taken us about a year to get all the financials ready to go on there. And then from there on out, whenever a check gets cut, you'll be able to see it on open.gov. Great website. That's in the financial, in the budget for this year. So that's going to happen. The agenda software. That's something that's great. I don't know if this agenda software that we saw tonight was the best, because there's a lot of stuff that we need. It didn't do live streaming, and I really think that live streaming is what we need. We really need to have everybody see it and see it live. I think that it should be live. It did have the ability to show video, but we actually had to put it on a website like YouTube or something like that, and then upload it to the agenda software program. There is an agenda software program that live streams that will give you closed captioning to make it so it's ADA compliant. There's agenda software, and that agenda software is cheaper, and they actually charge per capita. So we're only 6,000 people. So instead of the agenda software that we saw on Tuesday night, that's just a one price, it was $20,000 a year. This one is per capita. With 6,000 people, I'm not exactly sure, I haven't gotten the quote yet, but I know it's going to be cheaper because I've talked to them about it. And the Development Authority, could it have been handled better? Absolutely. I completely agree that it could and should be handled better than the way it was handled. The reason that the meeting was changed is because Katrina's dad, the president of the Development Authority, her dad had a stroke, and she had to leave town immediately to go take care of her dad. Her dad is, I think, still in the hospital as we speak. So that's why the Development Authority was changed. And I agree, the way that the Development Authority handled it the night that you were there was great. Open, you want to see it? Let's post it online. And a lot of the stuff that the council does, we post online, but I think it gets buried in in the website, because the website is not very easy to work with. So I think that's something that we need to work on. Because a lot of the stuff we do is put on there. We just need to make sure it's easier to get there.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Part of it too is I haven't checked this week due to work or things, but the results of those meetings, that meeting I still didn't find.
Which
The week after that development authority meeting that got moved.
So I think that's where the agenda software will help us.
Okay.
Let's see how I put this.
That's part of the software too. I didn't mention that in my question. That was part of the big issue that it got moved, which that's a very unfortunate and understandable issue. But if it gets moved, it's better to express to the citizens in a better
Absolutely.
manner than that, and then
And I
also
agree.
make the results of that publicly available. As far as I know, I still can't see what happened. Asked on Nextdoor. I know people on Nextdoor on the council and the government didn't get any response. That was all part of it. But,
So and I think the agenda software is going to really help us
Okay.
with this, because when we have the agenda software, what it does is what I'm sort of looking at. When you film it, when you live stream it, all Jennifer does is click to the next agenda item on the agenda, and it puts it on there. So then the agenda minutes will be up immediately, because you'll be able to see it for each agenda item. You can go like, all right, in 2008, or now, you can go click on that and see exactly what was said on that specific agenda item. And I think that's going to help us a lot with this. Jennifer, she wears a lot of hats, and she's probably overloaded with the stuff that she does with HR, with the clerk, with all the stuff that she does. She probably is behind on the minutes and on a minute, but we need to get her the ability to do her job. And that's even talking about document management. The open records request that she has to fulfill, she gets 30, 40 a week. And I think some of that can be solved with this agenda software. That we don't have to have so many open records requests, because we'll have the agenda software. There's stuff for you to actually get the information that you need. I think open.gov is really going to help that too. So get her document management, get her the tools that she needs, the tools that y'all need, and we can make it a more open government. And that's my plan, and I budgeted for it this year.
All right, thank you.
We're going to try to hit everything that I wrote down, right? So if I go back and forth, that's why. But I think in addition to using better document software, somehow develop focus groups to determine how easy something is to use and whether or not we should adopt it. Because I think a lot of times when you adopt something, you spend all this money on it and you kind of have to commit to it, but it might not be the best thing that's out. And the way to figure out if it's the best thing, if people can actually access it, is to get a group of people together and ask them, how do you like this? What don't you like about it? Compare it to this program before we invest a ton of time and money training people how to use something that's probably not the best thing that's out there. I know that can be difficult because everything changes day to day, but I think that would be just a smart way to choose how we're going to make information available to people. And then in addition to that, I think that the website for the city should be the end-all, be-all for reviews on everything. When meetings are scheduled, when they're rescheduled, the results of those meetings, because you're right, because I've been very interested in things, and if I want to have an end result, I have to go ask someone, and they send me to someone else. It should just be posted. As far as notification, there are apps and softwares that exist already where you can put people on an email chain, a text chain, send out a mass communication all at once. That way you get it immediately. You don't necessarily have to go to the source. And a lot of those are free. I don't know the limits to how many people you can contact for free, but that's something that I personally would like. If something has happened, I don't necessarily read a sign that's posted as I'm driving 30 miles an hour on my way to work at 6:30 in the morning and it's dark. But if I get something on my phone or something that's in my email that I'm naturally checking all the time, I'm definitely going to be notified within a timely manner. And you're right, sometimes things come up, but if I'm notified that in a way that respects my time, I understand that a lot more than arriving at the place, maybe rearranging my schedule and never signed up before. And then as far as getting citizen input, I know something that I am invested in beyond just office hours that could change because of my personal schedule, is just having town hall meetings. Not only if you have an issue, just to get to know me, get to know the other council members, see how we collaborate, see how maybe we disagree about things and why. And not only just to know them on a personal level, because I think it helps you to understand people better and empathize with them, but to just lost my train of thought. It's the train. That's what I was, the
Cyber
logic,
crossings coming soon, ladies and gentlemen.
the logic in a decision. So sometimes a decision might come down, and you don't agree with it. And you can't stand up in a council meeting and say, I don't agree with this because of A, B, C, and D. But maybe if you see the logic in the situation and the alternative, if you had voted the other way or made a different decision, that can kind of put people's minds at ease and not make them feel like, well, you're not acting in my best interest. Maybe in this moment, you feel like this isn't for you, but let me at least understand why we can agree to disagree. And also just kind of to educate citizens about things. I know there have been several things that have come up. For instance, the most recent budget, people have lots of questions about that. The tax digest, people have lots of questions about that. Property tax bills. I'm not an expert in any of these things. I like researching things. I don't mind reading. Some people, they just want you to tell them, and they want you to tell them in layman's terms. And I think that that's important to make people feel not only that they are informed, but make them comfortable about being involved. Because some people, I mentioned earlier, are kind of nervous about asking a question because it makes it seem like they don't know what they should. Sometimes it's not a person's area of expertise, or they don't have the words to articulate what they need to know. And I think that it's important to kind of be proactive about reaching out to people about things that they should care about, maybe they don't know that they should care about, or things that they want to care about but don't really understand, to kind of bridge that gap between the government and citizens.
One of the things that was mentioned, I believe, was making sure that there's an ability where folks that might like have their cell phone beside their bed can receive a text message. They get up in the morning and they go, they see that the development authority being exchanged. Our actual website right now, as old as it is, and you have to find the buried link, has text message capability. So when I moved here, I signed up for every meeting. I mean, sometimes I get like a random minute uploaded to the 125th celebration committee. I don't really care to see that, but I'd rather be over-informed instead of under-informed.
Will you share that site, or what is that?
It's on the city website.
It's on the city
The city
website.
website, will it
It's under-
upload to your phone?
It's under the search function. Go to search, it's the RSS feeds.
Yeah, it's right up there at the top.
Okay.
You can take your RSS feeds and it sends a text message.
Yeah.
Okay.
Similar though with an RSS feed, and understanding where most of the civic engagement occurs in a digital perspective. Not everybody's going to subscribe to this text message. Somebody might be more comfortable consuming it via email, which has that function as well. Others might just be the person that likes to log into Nextdoor. You can, with the current website, as nasty as it is, you can still push those things via the City Hall's agency account automatically, so you make it person independent. I think modern day web design standards basically follow a 3-click function. If you can't get to what you're trying to get to in 3 clicks, it's a pretty bad website. When it comes to government documents, sometimes that's like 6, 7, 8 clicks. But somebody might not care about the RFP for tractor tires in 2007, but they do care about development authority documents. And so you could set up Google